Okay, yeah. I was thinking, someone brought this up and it reminded me of something. The other day, because I rarely do two videos in one day, but yeah, I forgot I was going to post something regarding the Baker's Act and how it can be corrupted and how black women need to watch out. Some states don't allow it at all because some states are really, really smart. Okay, and what that means is, what I know it reminded me of it, the Aaron Carter situation, right? The little white boy who died who was on drugs recently. You guys know Backstreet Boys, all that stuff. I also, tweeted about it and so forth and so on. And they said at one point they thought they were gonna. Oh, the little girl he was dating had his baby or something. Called him and said she thought he was probably dead, and he needed to be Baker acted because he was out of control. And so I was thinking to myself, oh, this brings back memories I don't like to think of, because when I think about intersectional harassment, it infuriates me. When I think about all the harassment I've gone through because people thought they were jealous. Oh, I lost my other earring. Oh, nice of me to have noticed that. Because they were jealous, because they were racist. And sometimes for black women, it's difficult for us to figure out we're not stupid. Sometimes we're incredibly intelligent, unlike the people who are participating in this type of behavior. Sometimes it's both. In the South, as you very well know, when I was in North Carolina, these people are fake. They're uneducated, they're immature, and oftentimes they're unmonitored and out of control. Everything that this man, who was a police officer, police harassment, tried to say about me, and I thought, and I tell you a sad story, I don't talk about my business, right? I don't put my business in the street, but you guys know I'm a feminist, and black feminists need to keep it real. We speak truth, we tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So I had gone to the hospital. I lie to you not. Please try not to tear up because I don't let these things bother me. And I was like, I was in pain, hurting my pelvic area. I had, you know, been thinking something was going on at my apartment. I live with my two children. I always have. Well, at that time, I owned a small home. And I woke up and I just wasn't feeling right. I'm like, I'm going to the emergency room. Went to the emergency room and told them I thought I was sexually assaulted. Because, someone looked like they had been breaking in and out of my home. Now, common sense will tell you they need to do a rape kit, right? They need to call in a professional doctor or nurse, which they did not have available according to them. And if necessary, yes, a psychological evaluation should be done, but just to determine that I was all right. But do you know what these white people did? Which is a felony also, which is why I don't say anything. And excuse me, didn't sue them, and I should have. And I'm thinking I still can. Because trust me, I think about it every day. I was so furious. I mean, it was just the racist. I can't even. Everything came to my mind. Forceful sterilization that happened in North Carolina, forcing women into having children, ignoring the fact that African American women were sexually assaulted, and thinking on top of all that it was a racist joke because all they had to do was lie and cover it up. It was a terrible, terrible time. I remember not doing anything, acting just like I'm acting now. They didn't have a psychological professional, but they had some idiot come in and said, well, I think, I don't know what he said, but it didn't make any sense. But my behavior is just like it is now. And I was like, what are you talking about? And a woman's very upset. You don't want to agitate someone like that. I mean, but I'm always pretty much calm unless you really tick me off, but still I'm not anywhere near dangerous. But the bottom line was they were scared of black people. At this hospital I went to, they were scared of black people. So the white nurse, thought it would be funny to sit down here and say that I was erratic or something. And I'm like, what? Liar. Because if I was erratic, I would have kicked somebody's ass. And usually what makes me mad is racism. I didn't expect, at the time, I just thought they were crazy. It was just like, these people are crazy. They had, mind you now, I just had a KKK rally outside of my home a few months before. And when I say outside of my home, they moved it like across the street or down the street or something for whatever reason. And they interviewed this black lady on the news service, and she was like, "Oh, well, we're way past that." Like, I don't even know why they're here. You know, it's country people. It wasn't shocking to them, is what I'm saying. So this was still not a behavior I thought they'd ever do, commit a felony. And I had been going through police harassment. This is around the time I told you guys I returned that alarm system from Simply Safe, and it was $260 or something like that, 268, like the exact number. I wasn't speeding. I was literally going to return this alarm system at that time. This isn't working, because I woke up and I remember saying to myself, this isn't working, it's flashing. But, you know, it didn't go off in the middle of the night. Nothing happened. See what I'm saying? So I'm like, okay, well, it must be faulty. I'm frustrated. I'm going to return it. So I did so. As I was doing this, and I was not speeding, and I know I wasn't, because I looked right at the speedometer, this idiot cop pulls me over, sitting wherever he was sitting. And I was like, yes. And he was like, you know, license ID, you were speeding. I was like, no, I didn't. No, I wasn't. You know, you're not going to tell me that I was. And then, again, I'm not angry or erratic. I'm just like, whatever, give me the ticket to get out of my face. I'll see you in court. You know, and it was just all types of strange, just buffoonery behavior. They were white, so I can't say coonery. But they were definitely circus creatures. When I did go to court, the so-called district attorney, I told him the same thing I told the cop. I said, I wasn't speeding. I told the judge that. It's a lie. And I told the judge the same damn thing. I was returning this alarm system that was faulty. And how come the ticket he gave me was for the same cost down to the number, $268, or whatever that alarm cost was? My ticket was for the same amount. I'm not lying. The same exact amount. And I was furious, because I knew that this was police harassment. And when black women, this is what I say, the Sandra Bland situation had not happened yet. So if I had told the story at that time, you may not have understood it, or you may not have believed it. But this happens to us too. And this is what I'm trying to tell you. You know, I think that people think we're afraid of them. That's not it. Sometimes it's just anger. I don't think it's worth my time, besides a lawsuit. And we don't speak to the police. We don't speak to white supremacists. We don't speak to any of that. We definitely don't speak to a bunch of rapists, which I am quite confident they were in cahoots with if they were not the rapists. I'm quite confident. It's hard to prove. Police harassment involves all of that. Even if it were someone else and the police look the other way purposely, same thing. And I want other women to be informed about this. When I went to that hospital and they didn't do all those things, didn't ask to do all those things, like a bunch of idiots, you could tell it was illegal. It was a circus. Like when I went to talk to this, what was the district attorney doing in traffic court? It was a young guy. He was like, well, won't we bump it down to a, what did he say? Equipment, ticket. And I'm like, what? I didn't have any problems with my, like your headlights and stuff. I didn't have any problem with my headlights or taillights. I didn't do anything. But then he said, okay, we'll do this and we'll call it a day. And I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, how does this always happen to me? You know what? I'm guilty of being too nice. I let the shit go. Later, this whole other thing happens. I took the alarm system back. I'm really frustrated now. I'm not feeling well. Go to the hospital, emergency room. Just should have done the blood work. Should have done the test that you should do when you think it's a sexual assault. Should have called the doctor in and followed the steps. It's federal law. They did not. Furious. Instead, this man literally, you know how that guy that died, they gave him the rough ride? That's what happened to me. He took me from that emergency room, and I looked at him, and of course I argued, what are you talking about? I'm not going with you anywhere. But you realize the hospital is like an airport, right? So if they deem anything wrong that you're doing that's anywhere near strange, even if they're an educated idiot and they're doing this for a racist reason, they can escort your ass up out of there. But since it's a hospital, they're going to wonder why you put a patient out. So then they're going to try to sit there and call the police on me. And I'm like, what? It was just out of the blue, I swear. Obviously, with my intelligence level, I'm not going to be like, anywhere near telling the story and telling a lie, because I have no reason to. I have no reason to tell it except for to protect other black women. Black and indigenous women, beware. These police officers are rapists, they're racist, and they're assisting other people to assault you. And everything that happened to me happens all the time to other women. All the time. As soon as it happens to me, and sometimes I feel guilty because I don't say anything because I'm an activist, and sometimes you got to suck it up. But I won't suck up somebody calling me crazy and lying on me because, you know, in my back of my mind, I'm like, nobody's going to believe him anyway. But then I think about all the collateral damage that these dummies could do. Like, did he really put this on my record? Or, you know, is anybody really believing this idiot? Anyway, what happened was he took me to two different strange facilities. One was I was in a bed and I was trying to stay up because I was afraid of sexual assault. And they had this police officer sitting in front of my room, you know, like I'm some type of prisoner. It was absolutely horrific. You know, at the time I had to call my mother. As you know, we don't get along. I don't ever call her for anything. But the idiot tried to, I don't know, you know, take my children somewhere. And I'm talking to my children like, what the hell are they talking about? Both my kids were there. And you know, my daughter at the time was an adult. She's like, you're lying. I'll tell you a nightmare. I'll show you a nightmare. That's why I don't like to alarm women, because, and you can call me what you want. You can call it a mammy. But all we do is sue. And all I'm looking at is a way to sue this son of a gun and put his ass in jail. That's it. Whoever, whatever it is. And I do mean whatever it is. Because I don't know what unholy, evil piece of crapola this son of a bitch is. A group of son of a bitches. They're just losers. They're pieces of shit. And you have to sit down here and every day, you know, maintain your composure when you know that these people are idiots. Now you have idiots running your city, your state, and you have to in some way pretend like you're the one who's unintelligent, and, you know, and walk around every day while these morons are idiots actually making decisions which weren't legal, what they did, but the act that they used, because I was like, this is something I've never seen before. You know, I'm from Virginia, and I was just like, the Baker Act, what the hell is that? You don't have the right to take away someone else's, you know, human rights just because you felt like it. But in some states you do. Now, this is what I'm talking about. And this is why I'm telling black women, beware. Don't let them lie on you. Don't let them say this, that, and the third. They're lying. If they're lying, they're lying. And stand your freaking ground. These people are con artists. They're terrorists with badges. And it's such, you know, such an audacious shame. This man, like, took me to this place. I fell asleep and I was terrified with this beady-eyed white man sitting in front of me. And he looked like he was grinning. I swear, I don't know what type of evil-ass gremlin from the KKK this was, but I mean, I'm quite certain that these people are racist. And I was in Statesville, North Carolina at the time. That's just a city there. And then he took me from that, and, you know, I'm like, discharged me from there, and I mean, like, which was illegal in itself, and then say, you know, get it back in the patrol car. I'm like, he's like, there's no room here, because there are several rooms filled. We have to take it somewhere else. Now, would you go with a white man you don't know? For that reason, any damn man you don't know with a gun at night by yourself in the back of a police car? Now, I'm not one of those to fall out. I've seen them all on the videos falling out and the lady screaming. Oh, no, I'm not doing all that, because it only makes it worse. Let me tell you something. Legally, they're just going to say you peacefully resisted, or they're going to say you forcefully resisted. It doesn't matter. They're still going to add another charge. Because, see, that's what's wrong with the law. It's corrupt. So I was like, whatever. I'll see you in court. Bitch, I don't care. I'm not saying a word. Of course, I wasn't handcuffed because I wasn't, which made no sense. If somebody wasn't doing anything, you can clearly see that this is bullshit. I think they had done a blood test or something at the other place, so you knew I wasn't on any drugs or anything. This man was a straight up, I mean, he could have been a homicidal maniac, a rapist. Was he the same guy from before? I don't know. because I wasn't thinking like, what's his name? And I'm trying to remember. Like, if you get a ticket and somebody's acting suspicious around you, try to get the officer's name and badge number and remember it. Everything was happening so fast. I'm worried about my kids. Are they hurting my kids? You know, what's going on? I mean, because literally it was a kidnapping. I mean, and then we drove 30 minutes away. And I'm in the back of this fool's police car and I'm thinking, please don't let this motherfucker stop. Because then I'm going to go slam ass crazy on this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to go crazy if this motherfucker put his hands on me. Because you just don't know. In Virginia, they had straight crazy people, state troopers and sheriff's deputies that pulled women over and pulled their underwear down and tried to have sex with them. Some of them, they did sexually assault and they got them to a dark place. You know what I mean? These are real things that have happened in my life. I've seen it. We've had several. It does exist. For those of you who are very naive, it happens a lot. Luckily, I was able to get to this other place. He tried to, you know, he didn't even really say anything. That's why I kept asking him. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you talking about? What's going on? Why are you doing this? A nightmare. You know, you have to be a strong person to be who I am. I am who I am because I know who I am. And there's no amount of bullshit that's ever going to tell me that I'm not who I am. And that's one thing that you better know. If anybody ever comes to you and says, and I don't want to be like Aaron Carter and end up dead next week, like I didn't say this shit. He called his brother a rapist, for those of you guys who didn't see it, in a video on his site or whatever he was on, whatever app, and, you know, was killed the next week. So I'm not surprised that the Backstreet Boys were implicated in any type of child molestation or rape. I'm not surprised at all. As far as that Britney Spears thing, it looked like trafficking. And if she don't want to tell people, hey, I don't care about Britney Spears or the Backstreet Boys. I really don't. That's on them as long as they don't come from me. So I'm just telling you, it was a nightmare. I had to sit here, call people, come get my kids. I had to sit down here and listen to bullshit. And I'm looking like, and at the time I was working on my doctorate, my PhD for psychology. I think I was just about to finish my first master's degree in psychology. And I said, I was in the PhD program. As you guys know, I was about 2 classes away plus dissertation of finishing. And I started almost to do a GoFundMe, but then I said, because of the situation, you know, so I can go ahead and release my book and have everything the way I would like for it to be. Because there's several people out here trying to discredit me, and this is just another bullshit way of doing it. And I'm just like, I'm just going to wait till I'm ready. So, yeah, I had to sit down there and be patronized. And throughout this whole conversation, I'm looking at psychiatrists. I'm like, oh, yeah, you call this that. Oh, you mean that? You mean that, which I know about? Mm-hmm. You patronizing me, you stupid son of a bitch? Like, I'm thinking, are you in on this? Do you know how it is? It's just like being a lawyer and going to court and having the judge accuse you of something you didn't do. And you keep saying, I'm a lawyer. I know exactly what you're doing. No, that wasn't me. You know, like a case of mistaken identity, and they keep trying to accuse you. And you're like, I know exactly what you're doing. I'm a lawyer. So eventually, of course, nothing was wrong with me. I wasn't on any meds. There's nothing wrong with being on meds. I don't have any psychological conditions. Nothing wrong with that either. For obvious reasons, I'm a psychological professional, that was the irony of it. You get this, guys, it was the sarcasm. That's what it was about. I'm racist. Watch me lock your ass up. Oh, you're an expert in psychology? Watch me not only harass you, but then lock you up for shit that you think you know about. And I'm going to tell you what society thinks about all of you, right to your face. Because racism is racism. Sexism is sexism. They don't go away because you're smart. Watch me be a smart ass and show off. And basically kidnap you in broad daylight and then try to play it off. So I wrote all these angry letters to people, letting them know this is fraud, this is fraud, this is fraud, this is bullshit, this is bullshit. Trying to be as professional as possible because you really have to keep it together. You really do. It's like you being in a therapy session with a client and that client rapes you. And, you know, that's exactly what it's like. It's humiliating, but it's also just like you have to be, I don't know, you have to be calm and you have to be yourself and you have to be smart about it. Now, as far as working at prisons and stuff, you know, I have an undergrad in sociology. That's one reason why I don't work there. Corrections department, anywhere like that. Because they follow you home. Because they got friends on the street. Because cops work there, and cops are brutal liars. A lot of them are rapists. A lot of them are insecure. A lot of them are freaks. Sorry. You know, my bad if you are one. I'm not trying to put you down. I'm just telling you the truth. We need to do a better job of educating our police department and regulating their behavior. Because the people that do that, whatever they call themselves, whether it be ID or internal affairs or whoever, they are not doing a good job. It's horrific. And they thought it was probably cute. They thought it was funny. I had to sit down and be patronized for nothing. For being sexually assaulted, they punished me for saying I may have been sexually assaulted. That is a felony. So, yeah, that's my story. Of course, I got out. There was nothing because there was no reason to. They have some type of hearing, but I didn't even go. I was like, I'll be happy to go. Think I wouldn't because they didn't want me to say anything because for them it was a joke. They don't want people to know how I really am because I would tell everybody and their mother how these dumb son of a bitches need to be underneath the damn jail. Furious. You know, not only are you a professional, but you're always a mother. So I was worried about my children, and I just wanted to get out of there. You don't want anybody to have held you hostage and then pretend like something's wrong with you. Are these people serious? Like they're really trying to gaslight somebody like I'm their wife or something, and I've always been a single parent? That's desperation. And you know what I say? If you're that desperate and you're that sad that you're going to participate in sexual assault, stalking, kidnapping, if you're going to do all that and you're that desperate to prove something to somebody, more power to you. You can go right back to hell where you came from. Because you deserve every fucking thing that's going to happen to you. What goes around comes right back around. Yeah, pathetic little son of a bitch. I hate to use this language, but whenever I think about it, it gets me so angry. Please report if someone is abusing the Baker Act, because they can call. What happens apparently, because I didn't understand it, not being from that area. If somebody is just a stranger, hey, this person is acting crazy. Now you see how Aaron Carter was, called by, the police were called on him by whoever that was that called, and they didn't do anything. You know why? Because he was white. They didn't even do anything. And they had to call twice or something for them to go over even check on a dude. These fools, they have cameras in the hospital. And they knew they were lying. I'm acting just like I'm acting now. I'm scared of this black woman. Yeah, I'm serious. Dead freaking serious. Just like they came in when my rent was the same for over 5 years and then raised it over, $500 now? And then going to try to play it off like I was about to get evicted. No. Lies. They instigate shit because they're racist, and then they lie about it when they get caught. Or when it doesn't work. Because that's what simple-minded people do. If you ever hear anything about me that you're curious about, you're concerned about, you're wondering about, confused about, please ask me. I tell people that every single day. I am not ashamed of myself. I love myself. I do not care what people think. I will tell you straight the F up what is going on. So please don't think that I'm going to sit down here for any damn reason and be intimidated by any lie. Because I'm quite sure there's people that are jealous of me. That wasn't jealousy, though. That was straight ignorance. That was racism and sexism. That was the epitome of intersectional racism. It's horrific. So anyway, I remember to tell you guys that's what I was trying to do. And that Aaron Carter nightmare reminded me of that. Because I was sitting here thinking, Baker Act, yeah, that's that lie they told on me that time. But when that white boy went through it, they didn't go knocking on his door, did they? Until they got 2 calls. And he'd have done all this stuff, ran up in the street supposedly, allegedly. Now, the sad part is, if old boy didn't die accidentally, or commit suicide or whatever they're going to come up with for its cause of death, drug overdose, whatever, if it were intentionally done, and then they use this Baker Act. You feel what I'm saying? Convenient, right? I'm just saying. Sandra Bland. And I was like, that was way before Sandra Bland even happened. That's why I said I didn't know. When I was looking at Sandra Bland the whole time, I'm like, nah, they didn't, they didn't just do that again. I think on my last handle, I did tell people that on Twitter, but some people weren't following me at that time. So I'll tell it again, and I'll continue to tell my story until justice is served for Black women, because I will not be quiet. You can sit down here and do whatever you want to, harass me, lie on me, stalk me. I'm still going to keep talking, as I've been talking for years. You're not going to discredit me, and you're not going to get rid of me until you change. Change the law, change that Baker's Act to make sure they cannot rape, assault, and kidnap women specifically. Change it. If it's in your state, and some people don't know, it's the Baker Act. Just like that safety law. It seems like it's a small thing, but it's a really big thing. You better look into it. And I mean, yesterday. Anyway, I gotta go. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good night. Bye.